श्रीमान् वेङ्कटनाथार्यः कवितार्किककेसरी वेदान्ताचार्यवर्यो मे सन्निधत्ताम् सदा हृदि स्वादयन्निह सर्वेषाम् त्रय्यन्तार्थम् सुदुर्ग्रहम् स्तोत्रयामास योगीन्द्रः तम् वन्दे यामुनाह्वयम् नमो नमो यामुनाय यामुनाय नमो नमः नमो नमो यामुनाय यामुनाय नमो नमः यत्पदाम्भोरुहध्यान विध्वस्ताशेषकल्मषः वस्तुतामुपयातोऽहम् यामुनेयम् नमामि तम्
श्रीमत्कृष्ण समाह्वाय नमो यामुनसूनवे यत्कटाक्ष एकलक्ष्याणां सुलभः श्रीधरः सदा नमः यामुन पाद अब्ज रेणुभिः पावित आत्मने विदित अखिल वेद्याय गुरवे विदित आत्मने नमः अचिन्त्य अद्भुत अक्लिष्ट ज्ञान वैराग्य राशये नाथाय मुनये अगाध भगवत भक्ति सिंधवे अहमस्म्यपराधानाम् आलयः. This is from Shvetashvetara Upanishad. Out of the 10 principal Upanishads, again out of 108, Shvetashvetara Upanishad is a very important Upanishad. We have there what we call Naijyanusandhanam. We lower our status and then we call ourselves as Aham Asmi Aparadhanam Alayaha. I am the repository of all the grave blunders. That should be the serious translation of the Aham Asmi. I am the culprit. I am guilty of committing a lot of mistakes. Then 38. So, Yog Brahmanam Vidadhati Purvam. This is again, so I'll already repeated. So, in the Shlokatale, Adhikari Swarupamam, Sharanagati Prayogamam Sollitvai. So, in verse number 22, which we have already been discussing. So, Adhikari Swarupam, there are two types of Adhikaris. Adhikari meaning a rightful person. A person who has got the rights, R-I-G-H-T-S. Rights to teach and rights to learn. There are two types of Adhikaris, namely the teacher and the taught, the preceptor and the disciple. So we have both of them mentioned, especially here, Shishyadhikaritvam, the right of the student to learn. His aptitude is very much necessary. His interest, deep interest is necessary. And therefore we see the form, how he must be humble, he must be modest, he must feel that he doesn't know anything. All these are all qualifications of what we call Adhikari, the Shishya-Adhikari. So Sharanagati, then the second purpose of this verse is Sharanagati Prayogaha, the process of the total surrender. So the process of the total surrender is also indicated by the what we call the attitude of the student, namely the first step, Akinchanyam, otherwise called Karpanyam, otherwise called helplessness, otherwise called in Tamil, Kai Mudal Illamai. So I am not able to help myself. So I am dependent. I am not independent. And that is the meaning of this word. So the first step of the Sharanagati Prayogaha, the procedure of the total surrender. The first qualification is we must feel humble. The humility is the hallmark of a good disciple. Let's see. So that ends the paragraph 22, verse number 22. I wanted, because there are two reasons. One is we by many reasons, by what we call skipping the sessions rather, we missed the sessions. We were not continuous in thought, and therefore we have to recollect what we studied. Number one, we generally tend to forget easily what we learnt also. Just like the water flows from the higher level to the lower level, our memory also flows from the strong level to the weak level. As days go by, as the age advances, therefore, unless we go on studying every Stotra Ratnam frequently, this is what actually is recommended by the Shastras also. Because every day we have to repeat our actions like Aradhanam, Puja, study of books, scriptures, chanting of scriptures, understanding of the. So even after the teacher teaches, we'll have to learn by ourselves. Swadhyaya is the fourth step in a day. So we have to engage ourselves in frequent repetition of the practice of knowledge. And therefore, so Stotra must be enunciated, and it should become the part and parcel of our system, blood system, the respiratory system, the digestive system. And therefore, I mean, Keshav Swami will be ready to give out. So we'll go through the translations to help us easily. One by one to whatever is possible today, and we will discuss it later if many ideas remain unattended. This is the way that a disciple should have hints. Right, very nice. So verses 1 to 6, saluting the Acharyas. So we have been following this practice according to the procedure. The salutation to the Acharya. Nathamuni. You can even take Lord Lakshmi Narasimha or Lakshmi Narayana, and then he is the first Acharya. Then you have Mahalakshmi as the next Acharya. Then Vishwaksena, and then Nammalvar, and so on. But here, of course, whatever Yamunacharya has done, so saluting the Acharya. Can any one of you, or can each of you add to this Paratvam? What is Paratvam? Supremacy of the Lord. He has given three: omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. That we can, of course, explain in Sanskrit or Tamil or any other term in English also. The equivalent of these three can be given in Sanskrit easily. Can we give the? Can one of us give the? What is the meaning of omniscient? Single Sanskrit word: omnipotent and omnipresent.
Omniscient is Sarvagya.
Oh, really?
It means all-knowing.
Yeah. Omnipotent?
Sarvashakti.
Right.
Sarvashaktiman, to be precise.
Shaktiman, yeah. Omnipresent?
He's everywhere.
Yeah, he's everywhere, yeah. But in Sanskrit is the question.
Yeah. Sarvaloka. Okay.
Sarvalokastaha. Bhagavan sarvatra asti. Simple. Bhagavan sarvatra asti.
The terminology vyapaka or
Sarva vyapakaha.
sarva vyapaka comes to mind.
Vyapi. Sarva vyapi.
Sarva vyapi.
Vyapi. Long one. Vyapi. Yeah. Good. So instead of that, you can also translate this way. Omniscient, say, translation in the sense for our understanding. Jnanam, Shakti. Then Vyapakatvam. Put it as simple as Jnanam and Shakti. So Jnanam, Bhakti, Shakti, Balam, Tejaha, Aishwaryam. And so we have 6 qualities. That's why we call him Bhagavan. Then Saulabhyam, easy access. They are given easily. Saulabhyam, easy accessibility. Can anyone say, remember the example of how he was accessible to all? Easy accessibility. Now, what is that easy accessibility?
This is Gajendra Moksha.
Gajendra Moksha, Prahlad, Varada.
Right. So, in fact, very nice that Prahlada was able to go near him and appease his anger, whereas even Mahalakshmi was not able to bring down his anger as Lakshmi Narasimha. So easy accessibility. Okay, good. Another example.
Is Shishupala come under this, Swami? Shishupala and
Draupadi Vastraharam.
Right. Shishupala, right. Shishupala was excused for 100 times. So he was asked to use this Saulabhyam, but Lord was so easy to him that he could commit 100 mistakes. Only on the 101st mistake he was punished. Again, as he said, Draupadi. So we say that if had Draupadi prayed to the Lord, Hridaya Kamala Vasin, he would have come quicker. Number one, he would have come directly and helped. Of course, he only supplied the material, the dress material. But whereas later on, Krishna, while the incarnation is over, he felt very sorry that he could not help Draupadi earlier before she was dishonored. That was his feeling. That is the most important part of this Saulabhya. So to overcome our fear of life. Now, from the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and today also, we are continuing the recitation of Abhiti Stavam of the Vedanta Deshika. And so in order to avoid fear, we are reading the Abhiti Stavam. Fear from any quarter, from all directions. Fear from all directions. So to overcome a fear of life. The quality, there are 2 qualities of the Lord special to him. What is the other one? This is Saulabhyam is number 1.
Kakasura.
What is the other?
How about Kakasura and Kakasura's Sharanagati? Kakasura.
Right. But I want you to mention the name of the quality which is always coupled with the Saulabhyam. There are 2, there are hundreds and thousands of billions of qualities auspicious, but only 2 are very prominent. So one is already given by Keshavdas Swami, Saulabhyam. What is the other one?
What is Saushiliam, Swami?
Right, good. What is the example?
Saushiliam.
from Ramayana or from Krishna Avatara.
Is it Vibhishana Sharana? No.
Yeah, Vibhishana was a demon,
Yeah.
and therefore Saushilya. He was a demon by birth. Right. So, who are the others? Human beings, if the human beings are shown Saushilyam, that is not something great. But others are given. Vibhishana is.
Bali Chakravarti.
Oh, okay. Again, demon. So I want to go to some other category. Demon, example, Vibhishana and Mahabali. Okay.
Gajendralwa.
What? Pardon?
Gajendralwa. Gajendra.
Gajendra, okay.
Does Kakasura come under this, Swami?
Kakasura, Kakasura comes under Karunya.
Karunya, yes, correct.
And the Karunyam of Sita, especially Mahalakshmi, not even Lord. Actually, he sent an arrow by invoking Brahma on the grass, on the blade of grass. And therefore, there is more, first, in order to punish him, he sent an arrow. Later on, by the recommendation, what we call Purushakaratvam, Rama excused by taking one of the eyes, one of the two eyes. That was a small punishment, a grave error. So that's Karunya. So first example is Guha, the hunter. Guha, the hunter. So that was Kaushilya. Again, second is monkey, Sugriva. That is the second example. Of course, showing love to Shabari, Jatayu. So these are all. Jatayu, of course, Jatayu was a great friend of Dasharatha, and therefore Rama had more love for him. In Krishna Avatara, cowherdesses had a lot of easy accessibility, and Saushilyam also. Lord Krishna was born as a king's son. Vasudeva is a king. He is not a cowherd. Vasudeva is a king. So born to Devaki and Vasudeva, he was a member of royal family. Then he became almost like Yadava. He became a member of the cowherd family. That is what we call easy, not only easy accessibility, but also Saushilyam. So we go to 10:21, and I think very, he has given a very sharp note. Narayana Sabdartham. To understand Narayana Sabdartham, we have to read all the secret works of Vedanta Deshika, Ragasya Trayasaram of Vedanta Deshika, Sri Bhashyam. I think he has given all the. He is very brief. Keshavdas Swami is very brief.
Swami, can you explain Anjali Vaibhavam, Swami?
Yeah, we will take it up.
Okay.
Anjali Vaibhavam of Vedanta. Immediately after Stotaratnam, I think before Abhaya Pradana Saram, we can have Anjali Vaibhavam. I mean, even now you can, if you have studied already, bring the ideas from Anjali. So I wanted to just tell you about what I had for the past 1 week. We traveled on Ashtami day Ashtami day, Ashtami Tithi day. And started by Rahu Kala. Between 1:30 and 3 on a Thursday. It was the Rahu Kala plus Ashtami Tithi. The first day was Navami for the reading of the Bhagavatam, recitation. And then I had the fortune of delivering lectures in Tamil, of course, on Sri Krishna Jananam, then Rukmini Kalyanam, and Vedanta Deshika's Bhagavad Dhyana Sopanam, just 3 verses out of 12. Of course, my experience was also divine there, and we had, of course, minimum comforts for accommodation, and very good board was available. Food facility was available, and there were so many couples. There were so many couples who came there, and then there were people who had no issues also. They were interested. Many of them read the Bhagavatam in Tamil, and they also had many times read this Bhagavatam in Tamil, and they could understand many Sanskrit words in spite of their non-numbered consonants in the Tamil version. They had no numbered consonants. I was asking them why they have no. Most of them are above 60 or so. And we could hear one young man singing very well. His name is Sundar Raman. He is a PhD in engineering, and he gave 2 lectures on Ramayana. And of course, we had a lot of inspiration. And our aim was to recite the Bhagavatam, and we were not aiming at some what we call sambhavana, the fees for recitation. That's the unique feature of this.
So how much of the Bhagavatam did you actually get to do Parayanam of?
All the 18,000. 7 days, all the 18,000, and each individual had the freedom to recite in their own speed, and that was. And there was a gentleman in 1862 by name Ramakrishnan, and he became a sannyasi. It is said that he traveled all over India, delivered discourses on Srimad Bhagavatam, and then he shed his mortal coil on a particular day when he was delivering a discourse on Prahlada Charitam, and he was a devotee of Lord Narasimha. He was a Narasimha Upasaka, and he was called in his sannyasa stage Swayam Prakashananda Swami. We have his Vrindavanam there, so we went there, and many of us recited the Bhagavatam there. There are 2 or 3 chapters there, and they call it Adhishtanam. We call it Vrindavanam, and they call it Adhishtanam. And many sannyasis were there. interned there. Many sannyasis were buried there from the last century. And there was, devotion was seen in every individual there. The two boys were there, and many of them were Rigvedians there. Many of them were Rigvedians. Those who went there were Yajurvedians, but the natives were Rigvedians. And whenever they performed puja, they used Rigveda mantras, which we were not familiar. For even Abhisheka, Tirumajjanam, they used Rigveda mantra. Sattvic ahara was provided. Lot of smartas only. Lot of Shiva bhaktas. And we have two temples there. One is Prasanna Venkatachalapati, the other one is Rama, and the village is called Makuta Vardhanapuri, Mudi Kondan. And they say when Rama returned to Ayodhya from Sri Lanka, Bharadwaja Ashrama was there in that village. And therefore, the whole village is called Bharadwaja village. And then what happened was, there was an interesting story about what we call Sthala Purana. In the temple of Rama, there is no Hanuman. The Hanuman's sanctum sanctorum is outside the temple. They explain the reason. When Rama arrived at Bharadwaja's hermitage on return to Ayodhya, he asked in a hurry Hanuman to go and inform Bharata lest he should fall into the fire, waiting for Rama. Even if he one day late, Bharata would have jumped into the fire. Hanuman was asked to go and inform. And Hanuman was sore, he was so sad that he could not enjoy the feast supplied by Bharadwaja Maharshi. And so he became angry, and his sanctum sanctorum is outside the temple. He is not with Rama's. That's an interesting anecdote there in the Sthala Purana. The whole village, as usual, is very calm. We have, of course, fortunately, the electricity supply was continuous.
So I noticed also in Ahobilam they have a big Anjaneya Swami Sannidhi, which is outside of the temple in Lower Ahobilam. So is it not usual to have Hanuman outside?
Sometimes we have in Srirangam you would have found it in just near the Dvajastambam, outside the Dvajastambam. But in a temple where in Srirangam also you would have gone to Kodandaramar Sannidhi. There you find Hanuman near Sita. But generally, when there are, of course, Rama, Lakshmana, Sita is the usual group. And Hanuman normally would join the group. Sometimes, of course, outside also there will be temple. Hanuman temple is separately also built in many places, in many villages, on one extreme corner or side, The other extreme will have Vinayaka temple. That is the nature of all villages here.
So in my house, I have a set of Rama and Sita and Lakshmana, and when I got those murtis, there was no Hanuman in the set.
Oh.
So I call him Happy Rama because it is before they met Hanuman.
No.
Before they met Hanuman, there was no Hanuman there. Before Sita was kidnapped, there was no meeting of Hanuman.
Right.
So the three of them were happy when they went initially to the forest.
Actually, out of the 14 years of forest life, they enjoyed 13 years. Only in the last year was a difficult one. Otherwise,
but nobody speaks about the happy years. Everybody speaks about only the difficulties.
yeah. No. While they describe Ramayana from the beginning, we were talking about the happy incident. Vishwamitra's aim to take Rama to his hermitage was not for protecting his sacrifice. Yaga Samrakshana is not for protecting sacrifice. It is only to arrange for marriage.
So is it usual? It's usual that there is some subterfuge in arranging the marriages.
Yeah. A camouflage, a lame excuse for all this.
So otherwise, the elders think that the young people will resist marriage if you tell them directly they should marry. Yeah. They'll resist the idea. So you have to trick them in some way.
There should be a godfather. That's all. Vishwamitra was a godfather to Rama. So this is number one. Yeah. The salutation to Nathamuni has got three purposes. For getting knowledge, jnana, wisdom, vairagya, detachment, then Bhagavad Bhakti, deep devotion.
So Swami, can we also say that that he's repeatedly offering pranams to Nathamuni and to the whole Guru Parampara. This is also which we understood later from verse 21 that repeated
8 times.
Yeah, 8 times. Yeah, so that we see this even from the very beginning. This idea of repeated obeisance.
That is what we call humility that we are expected to have. Now, the word Namaha has got a lot of meanings. Number one, I don't have any possessions. Na mama, that is Namaha. That is, I have no pride, I have no haughtiness. Then I am an individual soul. Ma is individual soul. So Narayana, the word Narayana, Na is there. So Na Ma. So there is a relationship, close relationship between the Lord and the individual soul. Na and Ma. You can go on interpreting in many ways. And then, as we know, the word Nama is a bow of the head, very, very low, as low as possible. And we also say, as Alvar says, if there is no one to protect, then what is the use of God? And if there is no God, who will protect the Jivatma? Both are equally necessary. Nama. One of them is absent, then there is no meaning for the other. Another idea is also, if there is no protection extended to the individual soul, there is no way to escape. If protection is assured by the Lord, there is no need of anyone else. So that is Kamasika Ashtakam 5, Vedanta Deshika. Tvai rakshati kim annehi rakshakaihi. Tvai cha arakshati kim annehi rakshakaihi. What is the use of other protectors when you are protected? When there is no protection by you, then what is the use of other protectors? This is how the Nama also has. So we can go to number.
Also we see in the first verse, we also see that Nata Muni is being compared to the ocean, and then later on, the Lord in several slokas is being compared to an ocean.
Right. And again, all of us are led to the idea that each letter in any language, especially in Sanskrit, we say it is Shabda Brahma. Lord Almighty is in the form of a letter and syllable, and therefore the word Natha also refers to Paramapada Natha, the Lord, the Supreme Lord. Because we don't have a separate name for Natha Muni, nickname or any other household name for Natha Muni. We don't know much about him. So the word Natha refers to Lord himself. Every time I think we have been led to believe that words are denoting only the Lord. So next one. As you said, so Natha Muni saluted time and again. Tasmai Namo. So after getting what we call wisdom, our love of God is stressed here. Jnana Anuraga. And we must have astonishment over the Lord. Therefore, Mahima Atishaya. We will always be surprised by the greatness of the Lord. And of course, His love for us also. We enjoy His love every time. Many of us could actually see the love's what you call actions. His love benefits us, and the steadfastness of sticking to the feet of the Lord, or rather Natha Muni, the divine feet of the Acharya, the preceptor, is being stressed in number 2. Of course, we are talking about Madhujit plus Natha Muni. Both Lord Sriman Narayana and Natha Muni. So again, number 2 gives us the Sharanagati Prayoga, namely the procedure for total surrender, namely go to the Acharya and then the Lord. Don't go directly to the Lord. Approach the preceptor and then go. And Madhujit, Madhu refers to the evil qualities that the individual soul possesses. That's all. It's only a representative of the evil, the bad qualities which the individual soul possesses. Again, it is always said we have to conquer our sense organs. When we conquer our sense organs, that means we can be called victorious. So one of the basic requirements of bhakti is control of sense organs. Therefore, bhakti is difficult. Therefore, devotion is difficult. Therefore, Sharanagati is easy. So we can go to number 3. Now, anybody can stop in the middle and give their views.
So just a question. So are you saying that the use of the word Marujit here indicates property because we are appealing to God who is the person who can conquer all of our bad tendencies? We cannot conquer it ourselves.
Yeah. That's why we try. So by getting the advice from the preceptor, we are tuned to do total surrender and get the divine qualities. The divine qualities are one of the divine qualities we are reminded of apagata papmatvam. Apagata papmatvam. So no sin will get accrued to us. When we approach the preceptor and get the right advice, and then we will have control of sense organs. So that is what we call victory. Victory over our sense organs. You know, sometimes this manas is also added. So we always say 6 sense organs. 5 not motor organs, but by what you call knowledge organs, wisdom organs, and then manas also. But and our main aim, principle must be the attainment at the lotus feet. That's why it says Madhujit Angri Saroja Tattva. We can have ambition towards the divine feet. We can have a great desire towards the divine feet, and nothing else. We'll go to 3. As you said, every verse has got Namaha. Bhuyo Namaha. So this recommends that Shubhaihi Vachobhihi. Our devotion should have no bounds. Aparimita Achyuta Bhakti. As you said, he is Jnana Vairagya Rashi and Bhagavad Bhakti Sindhu. We call him ocean. Here we are talking about Jnana Amrita Abdi. The nectar like wisdom is as big as the ocean. Jnana Amrita Abdi. Abdi is ocean. So from our wisdom, our words should flow. From our own wisdom, the words should flow out of the mouth auspiciously. Then again he is saluting Nathamuni. Nigama Parimalam is the name of the book which we get in parts. Nathamani. So we can go to the fourth. A quick review. So we are to learn about three important principles: Chitta, Achitta, and Ishvara. We must understand the original nature of these three. So Chitta is Chitta refers to us. Achitta is inanimate objects, inert things, and Ishvara is the Sattvam. So we will understand what is the enjoyment of this world, what will be the type of enjoyment in the next world, what are the means to become devoted. So we are talking about Parashara, father of Shakti, Vyasa. So by reading Vishnu Purana, we will get a lot of ideas. In Raghasya Trayasaram of Vedanta Deshika, Vishnu Purana is quoted to give the meaning of the Ashtakshara mantra. Dvaya mantra. Sriman Narayana Charanau. What is the meaning? So go to Vishnu Purana and understand. So we'll have 5. Purana Ratnam is Vishnu Purana. So this is what we saw in a relationship between the individual soul and the Supreme Soul. Mata, Pita, Yuvatayaha, Tanaya, Vibhutihi. Yashoda Swami, you gave a mail where there was a pride of an individual soul saying, so I became wise and I traveled to foreign countries and then I'm also prosperous. You mentioned the word prosperity. But of course, I said prosperity is one of the aspects of what we call luck. So dhanyaha doesn't mean dhanam. Dhanyaha doesn't mean money. So dhanyaha means fortunate. Out of pride one feels, I am fortunate, I am lucky. That is what we saw in a particular verse called, verse I think from Guru Ashtaka. We had Cipriya sent you a mail and you responded very beautifully. One or two deviations. Dhanyaha doesn't mean directly prosperity, but it means fortunate, lucky person. An individual soul boasts himself that I am a lucky person. Shankaracharya says, if his mind is not oriented towards the preceptor's divine feet, everything is useless. So, Pranamami Mudra. Yeah. So again, Nama. So you call yourself as related to any the God in any way, any form. Mata, Pita, Yuvatayaha, Tanaya, then Vibhuti. And we have to claim our right that we are closer to God. Matu Anvayana. So we are talking about Amarva. So what we say is we have to convert ourselves to Madhura Kaviyalvar and become very devoted to Nammalvar. So you can go to 6. So we have the form of the Lord here. Form of the original natural form of the Lord. So he called Aravinda Lochana. The eyes are beautiful like lotus. Padaravindam, the divine feet are like lotus. And then he is our titular deity, total property. And all our desires in our head should always recite, chant scriptures. Our desire is to fulfill our wants, but we must always recite the scriptures and never expect any fruit.
Is there a relationship between Jan Murdni and Manoratha?
That is what I just now said. Our brain is the source of all our desires. There, of course, the literal meaning is Upanishad is Upanishad is on the Lord's head. Upanishad in the sense wisdom. Wisdom dawns upon his head first, later on to us. So our desire must be to learn, must be to become, of course, highly knowledgeable. And as you said, there's a connection between Manoratha and Murdni. That's what I said while you talk about your mind, heart, which is able to think. There are two flesh parts, practical parts in the body, namely the heart and the brain. These are all physical parts, heart and the brain. So these two work together, and what we have, what we call manas, the mind, then buddhi, ahankara, all these are all included in that. So our desire is supposed to be only particular desire, not everything. And that particular desire is to reach the Lord's feet. So you can have.
So are you saying that the Upanishads are at the head of the Lord, also at the head?
They are just the what you call head ornament of the Lord.
They're the head ornament
They
of the
adorn
Lord.
the head of the Lord.
So we are also unable to understand him through Jnana Yoga then, because we can only reach the feet.
Right.
So does it mean that we actually cannot understand God because we can't fully understand him? We can only understand enough to surrender to him.
Yeah. Just now I remember there are I think 5 or 6 mentioned in Bhagavatam. You can even take the just now Madam said crow, kaka, crow. Then Shabari. Then in the Krishna Avatara, cowherdesses, the cow. so many did not at all practice wisdom. So even then, Lord blessed all of them. There's no. I'll read it to you on Monday definitely. He did not demand our knowledge. Total surrender needs only initiation by bhakti, but later on our involvement, deep involvement in the Lord. See, that's all. So number 7. Yeah. So as you said again, the greatness of the Lord is compared to an ocean. Mahima Arnava. So again, self-abnegation. Even Lord Creator cannot measure His greatness, and therefore, where am I? All the gods could not praise Him fully. All the scriptures still are groping in the dark to finish a complete description of the Lord. And that is the number 7. We go to 8. Great people, in the sense, devoted people, always praise the Lord, adore Him. So they try their level best to do it. According to their intelligence, they do it. And there are people who cannot do anything. So they remain quiet. And what is the greatness between the Lord and all other creations, namely Bhima, Brahma, Shiva, and others, Indra and others? The greatness is so much that they are like what we call, all the other gods are like atoms, and whereas Lord Shiva Narayana is the principal mountain. So that is the difference between that is the difference in greatness between the living creature and the Lord. We'll have number 9.
But Swami, here also
Yeah.
the mountains, even if we think that the Lord is still being talked of as the ocean, and there's an atom in the ocean, and there's a mountain in the ocean, but it doesn't matter. The ocean is much bigger than even the biggest mountain. So that is so then Brahma and the other devas, they even if they're like even if we consider them to be like mountains compared to us, still they're nothing compared to the ocean, which is the Lord.
Right. Correct. Now here only the prayer, individual prayer starts. So I am eligible to be blessed. I am eligible to, and you are great. You are great, and therefore I am eligible to be blessed. You have a lot of power. So he is addressing a lot of power, and therefore pity should be shown on the individual.
So what is the difference between if the Lord pities us or he offers us grace?
Pardon? Please
So-
repeat your question.
So here it's talked about the person who is offering the prayer, Yamunacharya, says that he deserves to be pitied. So
He deserves-
sometimes in English if somebody is pitied, he doesn't automatically get the grace of the other person. But the Lord pities us, but he also gives us grace. He gives us his benediction, his grace, his mercy. So is it understood that if we are pitied, that we should get the grace of the Lord?
Right. Okay. Again, lowering our status, he says, I'm not a great intellectual. Mama manda buddhe. So I need a lot of efforts to go to that stage. Spirituality. And there's a difference between the Lord and the individual like this. He is accessible, and our efforts should be comparatively very high, more. So number 10. Navikshasi viditato karanam. So, showing one's own humility, the first half tells about our own humility compared to the greatness of the Lord, necessity of our humility compared to the greatness of the Lord, and his compassion knows no bounds. Ashrita Vatsalat. Once we surrender, he shows his love, unlimited love. So shall we wind up this session with this? Your contribution can be in the future session.
Right. So I just saw that in verse 9 that Yamunacharya is saying that he should be pitied. The Lord should pity him. But and then in number 10 he's saying, therefore, because I'm pitiable, that you should give me grace. You should cast your glance, just like you cast your glance of grace on the world and allow for everything to happen in the world. You should also give me your grace.
Yeah. And this is how we pray to Lord. If you are not protecting, if you do not protect the world, who else will do it? And there will be always chaos if you are not ready to save the world. The difficulties to be faced will be many. And therefore, is what you call ananya gatitvam, which is recommended by here in this verse. Namely, we have no other refuge to resort to. When we remember this, then again we have to understand all the auspicious qualities of the Lord one by one. And And also we have to have proof of his blessings. What is the proof of his blessings? We must feel lucky, fortunate, and then we must feel blessed of.
I just saw that somebody was asking about this term Purana Ratnam. Purana Ratnam means Vishnu Purana, and but sometimes the Bhagavatam. Some people are saying the Bhagavatam is the greatest Purana, but in Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, the Bhagavatam is the Vishnu Purana is considered the greatest Purana. So can you just say that there's some different concepts here? People are praising the Bhagavatam as being very great, and somebody is saying that maybe it is called Purana Raja or Puranam Amalam. But Vishnu Purana is still considered to be greater by Sri Vaishnavas, whereas by other sampradayas they may think that Bhagavatam is greater. So can you just explain the difference?
That is what say. Krishnavatara has a lot of fascination for us, and Vishnu Purana explains all the incarnations in 6,000 verses. Bhagavatam has got the pranks and sports games of the child, and therefore everybody is attracted towards Krishnavatara. Krishna, and then Bhagavatam is considered the storehouse of his sports and games. And therefore, they see a difference between Krishnavatara and they don't attach much importance to other incarnations.
Bhagavatam does deal with other incarnations, though. I mean, the story of Vamana and Narasimha and Rama are all mentioned.
Yeah, 22 avatars are mentioned in Bhagavatam. And Matsya Avataram, the fish, is only 11th. We are considering it as first one in the 10 incarnations. Matsya Avatara happens to be 11th.
But that list that comes in the first canto of Bhagavatam, in the third chapter of avatars, 22 avatars, it also includes many Amsa avatars like Narada.
Right.
So it's not only Purna avatars.
Right. We have got a lot of Dhanvantari, Dattatreya, Hayagriva, Hamsa, Kapila, so many are incarnations.
But they don't give the full story in Bhagavatam of all these others. Mainly give Krishna. So in Vishnu Purana are how many avatars are described in Vishnu Purana?
Vishnu Purana explains all. Of course, it's only a brief narration. I'm planning to select some portions from Vishnu Purana and give all the benefit of some idea.
That Sthala Puranam of that Bharadwaja village didn't sound that accurate in the sense that Hanuman was an Atyanta Shesha of Sriman Narayana. That being the case,
Rama.
he wasn't there in that Bharadwaja village. He was absent because he was on his way to Nandigrama. And therefore, Rama, and he stayed with Bharata until Rama caught up with them. So that's the reason he shouldn't that there shouldn't be a Hanuman Vigraham there. In fact, there shouldn't be one at all in that village.
Oh, yeah. But
Because he didn't, Rama had not met Hanuman, so Hanuman never went to that village. So either way, when Rama stopped twice on his way, he met, on his way to Chitrakuta, he went to Bharadwaj Ashramam, and then on his way back again, he stopped at Bharadwaj Ashramam.
Yeah, right. No, this is only what we call a symbolic anecdote, which the people are led to believe. You don't need to just have some naturality in the epic. And of course, we have some other Ramayana where you find that Hanuman is taking food on the same banana leaf where Rama was taking food. In the heritage of Bharadwaj.
அதெல்லாம் கல்ப பேதத்துல வர கதைகள்னு இவர் சுவாமி தேசிகன் திருவுள்ளம்.
Really? So they're saying this is Kalpa Beda? This is happening in a different Kalpa?
Yeah.
This sounds
where
like to
the
me
stories differ. Swami Deshikan says that where the stories in different Puranas differ, then that's because the rishis are talking about what they see in yoga through their yoga is a different Rama avataram from what the other one saw.
Right.
Where the narration is not identical.
We have some peculiar versions of Ramayana where Ravana seems to be a good person, and the name Rama is also interchanged to say that he is a demon. Rama is a demon and Ravana is the divine personality.
அப்படி இல்லையா சுவாமி, அது வந்து
in some
there's the version called Lankesh, which our in the that Manohar portrayed as Lankeshwara. Okay, so Rama is still the divine person, but the thing is that Sita is shown as Ravana's daughter, which could be true if you look at the Vedavati story, because she Rama, even in the Uttarakandam, there is a story of a baby showing up in Rama's thing, and then some minister for Ravana looks at the Lakshanam of the baby and said, if you keep this baby here, then this girl will destroy Lanka. And then when Ravana heard that, he threw the baby back. He threw the baby into the ocean. Then the next thing we know is that Janaka digs up the sacrificial ground in Mithila, and he finds a baby. So in that sense, it's possible that Sita in some way had a sambandham with Ravana in a daughter form, though not like a birth daughter. Then in that story, so Ravana did not want Sita to be suffering in the forest, and therefore he kidnaps her. The ending all happens in exactly the same way, but the reason all is Ravana's thinking in that version is all noble. Though the primary theme of the story doesn't change.
स्वादयन्निह सर्वेषाम् त्रय्यन्तार्थम् सुदुर्ग्रहम् स्तोत्रयामास योगीन्द्रः तम् वन्दे यामुनाह्वयम् नमो नमो यामुनाय यामुनाय नमो नमः नमो नमो यामुनाय यामुनाय नमो नमः यत्पदाम्भोरुहध्यान विध्वस्ताशेषकल्मषः वस्तुतामुपयातोऽहम् यामुनेयम् नमामि तम्
श्रीमत्कृष्ण समाह्वाय नमो यामुनसूनवे यत्कटाक्ष एकलक्ष्याणां सुलभः श्रीधरः सदा नमः यामुन पाद अब्ज रेणुभिः पावित आत्मने विदित अखिल वेद्याय गुरवे विदित आत्मने
कवितार्किकसिंहाय कल्याणगुणशालिने श्रीमते वेङ्कटेशाय वेदान्तगुरवे नमः।